What's going down, everyone? If you're watching this, you're probably wondering about 7.0 beta, the firmware that everyone wants to rock for the PlayStation emblems. Now, if you're wondering where I got all this silly attire from, I got it from San Diego's Comic-Con, which I have an unboxing. You can always check that out. It's not part of the video, but it'll be up above once I actually link everything. I'm going to start in this convenient mystery box that I got it in. But the point that everyone's here for, they're not here for that. I was getting too hot. I figured I might as well rock it while I have it because there's really no other use for it. Is that there's a lot to be had. We're going to be covering basics of what the actual physical update's going to entail once it physically launches, who has access to it at this very moment, where you can try to find access to it if you want to spend the time into the situation to reach out to people on forums, and then as well as some speculations of PlayStation 5 and beyond, and a great creator that obviously I would like to showcase in the situation that had a lot of the details that I was able to kind of snag in the situation since my beta key has not yet arrived. Seems like they're rolling it out in a few little segments, so let's go ahead and see what we can go ahead and spike over to the situation of a gameplay arena, and then we're gonna back out at this portion, and you can kind of see that the music kicks in for all the PlayStation goodness, and go back to some nice little Spider-Man music in the overlay. But let's go ahead and go to the first cam going over into the actual physical update, and you'll see me right over here. This is where we're going to kind of break down a little bit more of the PlayStation 5 stuff at the tail end. But where I want to kind of get down to is beta key invites. Now, for a lot of people here, they're probably wondering, well, how do I get into beta? I'll plug an update that's above as I go inside of this that actually shows how I gotten the actual physical update and how other people have gotten the update throughout time. So what you can do is just basically reach out to Sony in a situation. So you're trying to basically tell them hey, you're interested in a situation, and then you continuously just kind of go into, and you can see that a lot of people were really nice because the big portion of what this actual update entails is sharing the code to 16 people for the bigger portion of gameplay intertwine. So you can have 16 friends. Now, some people aren't all about that. They're more of the hey, let me go ahead and just maybe share this to 3 to 5 people. That's not really the network of what they're getting at. What they're getting at right here, and why PlayStation's really driving this, is because the competitive market, what we're going into PlayStation 5 for the situation of trying to contest with Discord, trying to promote a system for streaming, for people that are multitasking in a situation point of expanding their enterprise from just hobby to career. These are the things that PlayStation is looking at, as they already looked into 2 different systems. And again, this is why I brought to the table at the very tail end of a little bit more of a PlayStation 5 talk onto the whole portion of what beta is going to be, and then going in towards the future of what they'll actually include. Now, one of the things I wanted to point out was one of the creators. Now, I'm going to take a pause from this, and I'll come right back to this so we can kind of look at some beta keys. Now, I've tried almost all of them. And maybe you can check out these points on Reddit too, to see if you can find the keys, because it seems like they're updating constantly. I found another forum that was literally of yesterday, and I missed it just by a second. Yeah, I almost had it. That would have been so cool. But if I get a beta key, as I kind of showcase this creator and going over to it, just like this creator was giving out at MonkeyFlop, was the creator that I ended up following, and since he's across the sea, if I don't get something, I know he gets something, and that's why I follow him. Plus, he's a really good creator. I don't know if anyone else has checked him out, from down to hydro dipping your really cool controllers to updates and PlayStation cool stuff. I don't know, I find his content to be very entertaining, and the situation, the way it rolls out. But one of the things that it was able to do is, if I have the key and say they send it to me in beta 3.0, which is their second version, it usually comes about 2.5 weeks after the launch of the first beta, which comes in the very beginning. Usually they have the word dropout dates. I've been trying to figure out the algorithm with that, but for the most part, I do know about 2.5 weeks later, they'll normally kind of shoot over what happens in the situation of going into gameplay, into the way the screen was looking so weird on that playback. I needed to ignore that for a second. If it looks like a strobing light, it's not intentionally supposed to be that. For MonkeyFlop's thing, it's not supposed to be just subscribe. That's not what I was getting at. But definitely check out his content and features, because the reason why I did bring up to his content was because he talked about possible game swapping, kind of like how Steam does it, where you can actually go into gameplay of like how can I, if I don't like using a game, give someone to something, just like I can give the code of what I was before I was rambling into that one situation to 16 other people to test this. So if I get it in beta 3.0 and you are a creator and you want to up your ante into a situation of just like really starting to like oversee some situations and the way that things are gonna like kind of like unfold for you as a creator and like wanting to like test it out, like if you're into Red Dead Online, that is one of the things that I'm going to be testing out with the 16 in a situation like that. So if you are interested in that beta code, I definitely will be like sharing that. Now at the same time, if I can't get 16 other people directly into it that are just like wanting to check it out, I will just drop it inside of like one of the Reddit comments, like just like other people have in the videos, just so other people can get the like the fair share of utilizing this, because I kind of feel like this is the one time. Apparently it's up to 20 that people can utilize it. When I viewed it on MonkeyFlop's, like he said up to 16, so there's like within the rough range of about 16 to 20 give or take of like what you're actually going to be physically able to actually see. So the bigger portions of that update, as you kind of came down to see as we kind of got here and we're looking at like what's happening for as far as like the safer portions of getting codes. So like what I was at, like you can see, you can scroll down, people were just like pretty much lined up giving all the codes. This was the first one that I found that was just about a day ago, and I kind of just missed it, and like I just kind of like chimed in. Like if I ever get it, I definitely will get people into like the portion of trying to have a little bit more gameplay fun. But I think that's a little bit pretty much what it's going to cover besides the HDR. Apparently they're going to have a more mechanical flip inside of there that's going to be able to adjust the games on the outside. Now if they don't get to a lot of these things, since PlayStation 5 is just on the cusp, and as we're just going to go into the point of the cusping portion of what might be driving the PlayStation cost up, which is the U.S. traffic hike, as we all saw as our embargoes start to go around the ground and around the country. We are starting to see things that are coming around, and Zen 2 processing, and they're upping the ante. And I'm glad that like my, I guess, future premonitionable point of just seeing them trying to do an 8K system definitely came to fruition, because now that they're trying to push the GPU even farther, getting the better gen Navi into there rather than just like the second gen, because apparently they're trying to be offshooting two different variants, as where Xbox said Scarlet and Lockhart, and then they said no, we're not going to go with the cheaper system, and then they were like, oh well fine, we'll go with the cheaper system. And then now we're looking at like PlayStation was just like, well fine, we'll just put a really pimped ass system into the mix. And like having an 8K output scale makes sense, because now 8K TVs are finally starting to unfurl, and we're starting to get down to the portion of what we can actually really start to like articulate the funner portions of our gameplay. I feel like this is kind of like where the future is kind of thriving towards, and where we're all going to be like getting towards the future of like just like the pixel perfect, because our eyes will only render in about 8K. That's it. That's our cap out point for like seeing anything else past that. 12K is just like an expansion of wide and just like bigger screens to accommodate like a more I guess pixel clarity at like the larger standpoint. Like it won't be anything that we can render. Reality is rendered in for humans at 8K for most people that have like, you know, vision that are just like standard. I don't know, maybe there's some evolution that's like, no damn it, 12K. Yes. Anyways, we're not talking about like what you need to go talk to your like eye doctor about seeing stuff through walls like Superman. What we need to talk about is where you can get codes. And I would like to think to just stop by the PlayStation Reddit store and just like see what's up. This is where I go. Almost 2 million, 2.6 million, excuse me. I don't want to forget the 600,000 people are a part of that million. But yes, that contribute to this. So it's a great forum. I like it. And like going down to now our specs, the very tail end of the video, where I will push off this and just kind of let this go at this portion in time as we give the ready to install PlayStation 4 7.0 firmware beta from Sony Entertainment. And it's your boy MacGyver 7th coming into this portion of like hoping to beta test beta not 2, since it seems like the UK's gotten it, more beta 3 of what we will be getting into the portion of. So stay tuned. I will definitely be rolling that out once it goes live for as far as the install and what it will actually physically tell me. Now it is closed beta. It's not public, so not everyone has access to this, and they're looking for bugs, and they're not really in a rush to roll everything out like steamroll. In fact, it has no release date from what I've been able to see at all. No creators have been able to find it down to like anything else past it. Now, one thing that I will be able to say is Red Gaming Tech is where I got a lot of the information from, where they were able to like split the portion of what they were doing with the processing point of the newer, heavier GPU that was going to be driven into the PlayStation 5. So I got this news way before actually anyone else inside of there, so I would definitely like to say that that's where I'm getting a lot of my news from in that situation. But as you can see, the architecture of where we're going to be getting into is obviously a Nabu GPU unit based around a more it's going to be I would assume utilizing that PCIe 4 sweet butter freaking transfer when you were going into the situation of the memory, because that's one of the things that they're going to be utilizing is the trick. So SSD will probably be more likely ROS, as they'll probably have an expandable that you can add on to it. So I'm thinking we're getting down to the generation now as we go push forward into the next gen that we'll have 2 hard drive spaces, not just like an adaptable USB or 3.0. As good as that sounds, I will always take something that is like SATA and like a 2.5 or whatever. You can kind of direct connect. It just feels so much smoother and things won't move around. For me, at least. I don't know. That's just me. But besides that, the 8K graphic push out for as far as the way we were going to be getting towards things in a more I guess pixel point is ray tracing, and that's going to be the future where everything's going. One of the architectural points, I think George, I'm not quite 100% sure if that's the actual physical guy, and I may be butchering that unfortunately, but he's one of the head developers from NVIDIA, and he was talking about how 2023 we are going to see the market of every single game in the market being into ray tracing, and that would just be a software based situation that a lot of the hardware based of NVIDIA and AMD are literally pioneering a war against each other for us to have better technology, which is kind of cool to see a gaming company finally fighting a little man's battle, or a little people battle, be fair and diplomatic, around there in the situation. So I love the 8K specs, I love the SSD specs, I love the ray tracing specs, I love the variation of the 8 cores with a 7nm Zen 2, because that's just a pimped ass core. And imagine if you put liquid metal on top of that and you just pimp out there are so many possibilities. And when I get my hands on PlayStation 5, I'm gonna buy one. If there's 2 variants, I don't know, I might buy 2, but not maybe really, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Sony sponsors me. I might just, because I want to dismantle. I want to buy 2 of the consoles so I can dismantle one day one and just see if I can pimp it out and test it out against each other. Day one race. You know what I mean? That'd be so freaking cool. At least, I don't know, I got giddy about it to take, maybe a, $700, $500 system apart and see if I can put it back together. What's the worst thing that can happen? To apply liquid metal to it. Yeah, that'll be fun to watch. 2 hours later, it's on fire! There's no coming back from that. That would be funny to set that into the warranty station at Sony, but so how'd that happen? You see, what had happened was the metal became liquid and it ignited with a blaze like magnesium hitting water, or potassium. Anyways, we're not talking science like freaking an episode of Rick and Morty, oh geez. We're summing up the very tail end of maybe a portion of what we'll be seeing towards the thread counts. Now, at 3.2 is going to be probably what our clock speeds are going to be running at, and having that kind of access portion of a GDR6 is going to be a lifesend, because when they showed the demo of Spider-Man, I don't know if a lot of people noticed that, Sony did a debut about almost a month and a half ago, give or take. And for right now, since I've already covered a lot of the patches for as far as that situation goes, we can go back to real talk. And what they ended up doing is they showed the portion of what they were giving out and the what can load in PlayStation 4 Pro versus PlayStation 5, a little debut test. And the way it could load in was like that, and it was the same way that I looked at when they showed Navi for the first time. And Navi was a 1440 card, it wasn't a 4K unit card. They've been testing the pioneering portion for like Navi going towards 4K bound. It seems like a lot of companies are starting to understand that 4K is the new platform through past 1440p, and like now 8K coming in is a newer temptation that I'm going to be striving towards. Like towards 2020, my channel hopefully will be integrating 8K. I'm hoping, but we'll high ambitions, but we'll see what happens. But the portion that I'll be looking at in the situation is just answering the questions of like what will we be seeing in performance, and they did that. They showed how fast that they can load a game, and for me, that's one of the bigger portions that I do get annoyed with. Even if it's a good game or bad game, sometimes good games can load badly, and bad games can load goodly, and vice versa. Sometimes bad games just suck at like loading. Like I've seen that where I'm just like, oh my gosh, this game's trash, and it's just not physically good. You know, put my hat like otherwise. But that's pretty much my video, everyone. Thank you so much for staying tuned. A lot of this was just covering just the brief portion of information that's come out about PlayStation 4 and the beta. And when I do get these codes, if you are interested, drop a comment down below. If you like the content and you've come down to this so far, you can definitely hit that subscription button, and I'll go on a journey with the Goonies. Yeah! I really want to go on a journey with the Goonies. Get a baby Ruth. Awesome. At least I didn't even have a baby Ruth. I could ride a child. But anyways, all subscription humor aside, thank you so much for spending your time on the channel. That means definitely a lot to me as a creator. You could be anywhere else in the world, but you're spending it here. And I will leave you with a really cool quote, and it's not where your dreams take you, it's where you take your dreams. And if you can kind of cherish that a little bit and just a little bit of a word, well, you'll see where I'm coming from on that one. But anyways, drop a comment down below. Everyone else, if you have any questions or any situation arise on the topic of PlayStation 4, drop it down below. I'd like to definitely hear what you have to say. And once I get those codes, I'll be going live with a live install, and I'll probably end up just giving away the code directly to people that I would message at that point in time. It wouldn't be just like kind of a giveaway through like an auction on that video. It would just more geared towards like I'd be reaching out to like people at this point that are interested that watch this video. So a lot of cool things that are like out there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys and gals in the future.